I'll give it to you. Padma Balila says, good morning from Rainbow.
Good morning, very, very good morning to all of you, and welcome to Funky Rainbow's Book Buzzaar. It's become, such a lovely thing for us to do every week. Our whole week is geared around the bazaar that's coming up next, what books are available, what we can showcase at the bazaar, just a wide range of Indian children's books. And we are always, everything is a great buzz always at Funky Rainbow in anticipation of the bazaar that's coming up. Of course, a big deal of the buzz comes from all of you who are there and, who share our posts and talk about, the bazaar and come up and watch and ask for recommendations. It is such a lovely, lovely experience for us. Let me tell you again from all of us at Team Funky Rainbow that this is perhaps the happiest thing that has happened to us in these COVID times. The bazaar, the buzz that's out there, from all of you who are watching, and friends old and new whom we just love to meet at the bazaar. So today's bazaar is a picture book bazaar, and it's back by popular demand. I can't tell you how happy it makes us to say that, it's back by popular demand, because there's lots and lots of people writing in saying that we want recommendations of more picture books. And of course, because we want to do something that's exciting. I mean, it's challenging for us as well to do interesting things at the bazaar. This week, we decided to, like I said yesterday on some of our Facebook posts, that we decided to do a spot of matchmaking, Indian matchmaking. I know that controversial show has been in the news. I haven't watched a single episode, but I've read, about it. So we said, let's do a spot of matchmaking and match picture books, fortunately, not human beings, thematically. And, so today's bazaar is all about picture books in pairs based on themes that we think are interesting, exciting, and relevant. All wonderful things in life, really do come in pairs. I remember way back, when we were putting together some children's magazines, two children's magazines called Quest and Junior Quest, for a client in Singapore. And these were children's magazines that we were putting out, creating for a client in Singapore. We sort of, had a chance to understand the Chinese alphabet in some way. And I can't remember the specific name of that alphabet, but there is a beautiful alphabet in the Chinese tradition, which actually means double happiness delivered at your doorstep. It literally means that, they use this alphabet, I think, as a good luck symbol for couples that are getting married, or for things that two happy things that are happening in life. And we think that alphabet, which has a long Chinese name, is perfectly symbolic of our bazaar as well. Double happiness delivered at your doorstep. As always, all the books that are going to be, showcased today, they are already on the Funky Rainbow website, www.funkyrainbow.com. Muttama, what have we called them? We've called them picture books.
Picture book pairs.
Picture book pairs, that's what they're called, all the books that have been put out today. And please do, if the ones that we're recommending, children would, that's something that you would like to introduce to your children, please do consider picking them up from Funky Rainbow. They're all up at, wonderful discounts as always. So, like I said last week, it would be there are only limited copies of many of the picture books that we are focusing on, and that's been we're working hard to try and resolve that issue of getting books from different publishers because of all the lockdowns, and because many of the publishers are based in different parts of the country. Books are coming in a lot more slowly than we want them to, but that's a happy feeling that they're going out faster than we imagined they would. So we do have them in limited numbers, and so we would like you to order them off our website, because if you WhatsApp us, as many of you do, at 990049565, sometimes we have to wait for the online orders to get processed and then attend to your queries, which means sometimes the books have just run out by then. By that time. So please do try and check it out at the website. If, however, you have issues, we are just one WhatsApp message or phone call away at 990049565. So welcome again to our Picture Book Bazaar, Picture Books in Pairs. And because of the way Bangalore is in this nice and lovely rainy sort of, I know that the rains have been massive in other parts of the country, wrecking the kind of havoc that we really don't want nature to do at the moment. However, the rains in Bangalore have been glorious. I mean, every morning, it's just a pleasure to look out of your window and see everything bright and green. In keeping with that theme, I'm going to start off with a clutch of picture books. Of course, we have some pairs. We have many pairs that are in twos, but we have a couple of pairs that are in threes. So, the first one, of course, is a 3. And, we're going to begin with a clutch of picture books on the rain. So I'm going to start off with this lovely one that I absolutely enjoy, and it's part of a rainy, clutch of books. This one called Rain, of course, by Nandini Majumdar and illustrated by Rafia Bano, is a beautiful little book, brought out by Ekalavya Publishers, which showcases the Zardozi art. As you can see, the entire book has been stitched, so to speak. There's just beautiful stitching. You can see that it's done on a piece of fabric, and there is beautiful Zardozi art showcased in these gorgeous pages. Of course, it is about that lovely feeling of the first rain, really, and what happens, what does it feel like before it rains. It's very hot, but then the clouds come out, then there's a gentle breeze blowing, and we know every one of us perhaps loves this feeling of being in the rain, singing in the rain, reading a book in the rain. This one very attractively priced at 45 rupees, published by Ekalavya, written by Nandini Majumdar, and art and the Zardozi work actually by Rafia Bano, a stitched sort of stitched together, so to speak. Part of this pair is a book by Vaishali Shroff called Raindrops, and illustrated by Ruchi Masane, who's, both of whose, writing and illustration comes together so beautifully in this book to give you a sense of the Mumbai monsoon, or perhaps the monsoon. We say Mumbai because we know Vaishali Shroff lives in Mumbai, but it's just a familiar rainy day scene. There's a little girl, Anju, in the book, and she is looking out of her window, as it is raining. Cloudy skies, umbrellas, there's a very, very beautiful picture of some people walking down cloudy skies, umbrellas, puzzles, puddles. But Anju, of course, her curious eyes also spot a little puppy, who is there, who she can see from her window. And the beautiful thing, as you can see, there's a lovely little puppy sitting over there, and and the lovely thing, and I know many of us have probably done this, not just when we were kids, even now, to make little drawings on a wet window pane. That's the part of the book that absolutely appeals. When the drops come rolling down the window, Anju is making these marvelous little drawings. She's sort of, using the water drops to make things that her imagination, draw things that her imagination wants her to. It's a beautiful book. We won't tell you what happens, going beyond this, but Ruchi Masane's soft, marvelous watercolors, actually, they really evoke the mood of a rainy day fabulously well. Yes, this is one of those books that you should perhaps be reading on a rainy day, with your child, maybe with a hot cup of chai, samosas, and just enjoying the glorious rains. We have a third one in this pair from Karadi Tales, which is called One Dark Cloud. It is written by Shobha Vishwanath, who's the publisher at Karadi Tales, and it's illustrated by Ashwati P.S. and Anusha Sundar. It's a counting book, but it's a lovely counting book that uses a rainy day as a backdrop, for the counting skills. I mean, to sort of for a child to pick up some counting skills. And really these collages, which are perhaps a combination, not even, I mean, I'm sure they're a combination of photographs and, paper art, and, a lot of mixed media as well. I mean, they just stunningly capture a beautiful rainy day. I particularly love this one with 5 beautiful, colorful umbrellas. So a great combination. And as you can see, the back cover of the book has one of our favorite rainy day pastimes, that is to sail paper boats, that is the paper boats, to sail paper boats in the puddles. So this combination, this combination of books, 3 books, rain, raindrops, and One Dark Cloud, available at sorry,
460, available at 15% discount.
so these are available at a special discounted price. I think they come combined at 460, but on the bargain section of the website, they are available at a special price of 414 rupees. So this is a lovely, perfect 3 perfect picture books, monsoon read picture books. But yes, there are 2 other very nice books. Of course, these ones perhaps work for the youngest of readers. Really, Rain and One Rainy Cloud absolutely work for very young readers. I mean, it's great for you to show them out. And Raindrops as well. I mean, we would say, children in the ages of 3 to 5 would absolutely enjoy these ones. If you're reading out, even younger, works absolutely fine. The next combination, which is really a pair actually, is again a rainy sort of combination. I mean, it's just been that kind of mood at Funky Rainbow where everybody is, looking out of the window and enjoying the rains and looking at all the books in our collection. So we have picked out 2 other books, again, based on the theme of rainy day, of rains and clouds. This one is called My Day with the Clouds, written and illustrated by Hoda Haddadi. It's published by Ekalavya. And it's a lovely story of, 2 girls waiting for the rain to come. I mean, they are waiting rather impatiently, sometimes patient, sometimes impatient. And, their mother is, it's got these, really beautiful illustrations, little bit, more abstract kind of painting, illustrations. And these 2 girls are waiting eagerly for the rain to come with their mother, who you realize in the course of reading the book is also waiting as eagerly for the rains to come. Of course, there are the clouds, and they are what the mother tells them is that In order for the rain to come quickly, they need to recite a rhyme or sing a song, and all three of them start doing that, and the clouds slowly start drifting in. It's a beautiful story. What happens? Does that first rain come? And, if it comes, does it well and truly come as rain? Very, very beautiful, book. Again, this one is a little bit more text heavy, so we would recommend it for 5+ year olds, priced at 60 rupees, from Ekalavya. And this one has been combined with this beautiful book from Jyotsna Prakashan called The First Rain, written and illustrated by Priyal Mote. It's such a sweet book. In this book, a baby elephant is waiting for the first rain. He has, his parents have told him about everything. And I'm sorry, she has, because the baby calf is called Sita, and she has been waiting ever so eagerly for the rain to come and, put an end to the heat, the really, the kind of hot summer days in the jungle. Does that first rain come? And how does Sita, if it does, how does Sita enjoy it? There are some gorgeous, colorful illustrations inside this picture book, and it's truly, it gives you a great, the whole story is set in a jungle, so there are several animals that you get to meet on the pages of The First Rain. In fact, this whole series of books from Jyotsna Prakashan, it is, I think the series is called Yours Naturally, and it's meant to introduce young readers to animals, birds, insects, and the creatures great and small that share this planet with us. So this collection, which is our second pair, one, My Day with the Clouds, where two little girls and their mother are waiting for the first rain, and this one where Sita, the little calf elephant, is waiting for her first rain. As I said, 60 rupees Ekalavya's book, and this one is 80 rupees Jyotsna Prakashan's book. And if you check out our picture book pairs, they are available up at a special discounted price of, Mutama tells me, 125 rupees. So I'm going to let everyone look at the website to see that all these books are available at special offers. I'm going to move to this third set of books that we wanted to recommend, which was to celebrate Handloom Day, which just went past. In fact, there were so many books that we could have put into this, picture book bazaar around the theme of handlooms, but many of those we just don't have in stock. So we know that sometime soon, once these books are all with us, we will certainly do an Indian art, craft, textiles bazaar, because it's a theme that's so close to our hearts. So the handloom one, to celebrate the theme of Handloom Day, we have picked 3 books, centric on the gorgeous Indian sari. Now, this one, My Mother's Sari, an old classic, it's such a fabulous book about, a little girl who discovers the pleasure of her mother's sari. Very beautifully written by Sandhya Rao and illustrated by Nina Sabnani, both doyens in their space. Sandhya has been writing for so many decades for children, and Nina Sabnani, the great textile, the animator and, a person who is so interested in textiles, absolutely brings alive the sari with her beautiful texturized, illustrations. And, she combines photographs, she combines, fabric to put together these stunning collages to, tell the story of my mother's sari, of this little girl who discovers that the sari can one day be a train, it can be a river, it can be a swing, it can be a hiding place. Such a beautiful way to introduce young readers to the sari, and in this particular book, with different kinds of saris being focused on. As you can see from each of the books, from each of the illustrated pages, you can see that Nina has brought into it absolutely different kinds of saris, from Pochampalli to to Ikkat, to just a whole host of Indian art and craft traditions. Hi, Shivani. Muttama tells me that you have just said that we love playing with this book. It is such a beautiful book for a mother and child, or to bond with, or a father and child to bond with, because it is a very, very, it's a book that you can practically sort of, even as you tell, perhaps wearing a sari, or even if you don't, with holding a sari in your hand, you can, interact with your child so beautifully, using this marvelous picture book called My Mother's Sari. The US edition of this book, and it's no surprise, that the US edition of the book was selected by the United States Board on Books for Young People, that is USBBY, and the Children's Book Council as one of the most outstanding international books way back in the year 2007. It is absolutely a stunning book, and a picture book that works for the youngest of readers, 3+. Is the age group pegged for this one. So it is something that you can read even to a younger child. We have a second one in this pair called Amama Sari. Many of us, have now, absolutely enjoy the pleasure of wordless picture books. And this one, is a marvelous, beautiful picture book about a grandmother's sari. So what happens in the story? Amama's sari has a hole in it. So what does Amama do? As all resolute and really practical Amamas do, she snips and she cuts it, and it becomes a pretty curtain. It becomes a swing and a sling swing for a child, a perfect plaything for the cat. Nivedita Subramaniam, who's written and illustrated it, author-illustrator Nivedita Subramaniam, has again brought in some stunning textured collages, beautiful textured cloth collages, literally, to make the pages of this beautiful picture book really reflect the touch and feel of a sari. How beautiful is it? And really, we have discovered a lot of picture books only in the last couple of years, at least in the Indian context. And I think, picture books are simply timeless. Whether it's the youngest of readers, older readers, you're not bound by any words to imagine a story in one particular way. It's to each person their interpretation. So I think it's lovely to use wordless picture books with young readers and even older readers, because to each one, as they see the pages, they can interpret the story. And there's marvelously, there is never ever a right or wrong story, right? There is really no wrong story, I'm sorry. So this one, which goes with My Mother's Sari, priced at 165 rupees, a glorious picture book, wordless picture book. And of course, when we talk of saris, we cannot but help include this lovely picture book that has been in print for several decades now, called Granny's Sari, written by author Asha Nehemiah. It's about a grandma's favorite sari. And, why is it her favorite sari? Because it has the pictures of a forest printed on it. And, you can see it's been so vividly illustrated, the forest on the sari. What happens one day, though? The sari just flies off the, washing line. And, both the girl in the story and her granny have to go around. Anu, who is the girl in the story, go to try and find the sari. Along the way, they meet various people could be right from a policeman to a thief to a fruit seller. Just the beauty of everyday life, in India, captured so marvelously in this slender picture book by Asha Nehmaya. And of course, a sari at the crux of it, because there is something fabulous that happens in the end with the sari after it has gone on its many adventures, taking the protagonist, that is Anu, and her grandmother along on those adventures, and the readers as well. So we couldn't but help include this lovely gem of a book into this collection on saris, primarily, to celebrate Handloom Day. As I said, there are so many other books, that we could bring into this. And we do, hope to do a textile, fabric, art and crafts of India bazaar sometime soon. Asha Nehmaya's Granny Sari, illustrated by Subir Roy, part of this beautiful sari, a trio of picture books: My Mother's Sari, Amama Sari, and Granny's Sari. Do we want to say hellos to a couple of people before I get on to my next set of books?
Called Granny Sari, an evergreen book.
Divya, apparently you've said that Granny Sari is an evergreen book. It indeed is. I mean, it's been in print for so many decades now. And, Asha Nehmaya really, has some of the most charming picture books for readers in the ages of, say, 5 to 7 years do come from her collection of CBT books. We absolutely love Granny's Sari. Let me just say a quick round of hellos to some of our friends who are all here this morning. Hi, Supriya Paul. Hi, Girish Panchani. Hi, Joyce D'Souza. Hello, Shailaja Menon. It's probably your first bazaar with us. We are absolutely thrilled and honored that you are here with us. You have been our sounding board on so many occasions to discuss whether books are working or not, not working for specific age groups, for specific kinds of readers. It's absolutely a pleasure to see you here at Funky Rainbow's Picture Book Bazaar this morning. It would be lovely at some point to sit together and curate more books that we can absolutely, showcase at our bazaars. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, Padma Baliga, again, another person with whom we could be curating tons and tons of books because of the extraordinary work that she does in the library space. Absolutely and utterly a delight to see you here on so many Saturdays, Padma. And we do know how busy you are doing several things, basically connecting, taking books to children in different kinds of schools. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, Sameer Thakkar. Hi, Sunila Kulkarni. Absolutely a pleasure to see you here this morning. We do know that a lot of you, Muttama tells me that the bookwalis, the group of bookwalis, that is, all of you friends, make this an adda every Saturday morning. I can't tell you how happy. Apparently, I just didn't look at my Facebook this morning, but Muttama tells me that you've written saying that because you can't meet for a cup of chai, which you would at a cafe or at a bookstore, you now meet at Funky Rainbow's bazaars. I can't tell you how happy that makes all of us. I mean, this is exactly what we wanted. Leisurely, laid back, sit down, have conversations with your friends over the books that we're recommending, and, sit down and be at our bazaar. I'm so thankful to all of you ladies, Sunila, Archana, Smita, Joanne, all of you who come in for our bazaars to have a good time every Saturday morning. Big hug and big umas going out to all of you. We will do this adda for real someday soon. I assure you, we could be sitting at Funky Rainbow's office and drinking chai and discussing books. Nothing makes us more happy. Really, thank you so much. It really boosts our enthusiasm, in these days, which have been so challenging in just different kinds of ways. Thank you so much for saying what you did, all of you bookwalis. I'm so delighted. Hi, Sarika Reddy. Hi, Amrita Goswami. I know we have been in touch on WhatsApp, and I'm so glad that you have come to our bazaar. Tanushri Singh, another huge supporter. I know last minute, 1 minute before we went live, we told Tanu that we're going live, and she's here with us this morning. Your support is invaluable in, helping us do what we do. I mean, it's wonderful that the community of readers, book lovers that are constituted of authors, illustrators, book champions, that you're all here supporting us. Really, it just absolutely keeps the wheels of our traveling bookshop turning. Even if you're at one place at the moment, it's you who really enthuses us to keep doing this week after week after week. Hi, Banani Biswas. Hi, Vaishali Shroff. I hope you caught the recommendation of your book this morning. I texted you because it was raining heavily last evening, and I was reading the book and just looking at the raindrops, going down our window, and quite tempted to make a drawing just like the little girl in your book. Thank you so much for joining us. Joanne Saldana, you bookwalis, you are just incredible. We were talking as I was driving to work. I was talking to Muttama just about you guys, saying that we have to try and put some collaborations in place. The recommendations and the book knowledge that you all have, it is really inspiring, ladies. And we thank you for all the support that you extend to us. Mum, thank you as always for packing those hot pakodas and sending us. I don't know whether there are hot pakodas. I don't even open my lunch bag, but there is always hot food on a lovely rainy day. Thanks to Mum, and thanks to her, there's always been books to read in our lives. Thank you so much for joining, Mum. Hi, Jyoti Krishnamurti. Absolutely a pleasure to see you here this morning. Hi, Vasanta Kalbagal. Lovely to see you here. We do every single day, believe me, are so appreciative of the masks that you sent us. And we have, Muttama is actually wearing that mask presently. And we have ordered some more for, all our, families at home and colleagues from the same NGO that you gave us those masks from. And, it was truly touching that, your first visit in these COVID times was to Funky Rainbow's office. We will never forget that, Vasanta. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, Kamu Shayan. Hi, Shruti Sri Raghunath. Delighted that your books have got to you, even if the watchman ferreted them away. The thing is, I hope he read it with his family and then gave the books back to you. Thank you so much for joining us at the bazaar. Vinod Kumar and Veeramani Narayanan. Absolutely a pleasure to see you here. Abdullah Khan, Bijoya Raman, Chainika Sen. I saw Divya Anand's post putting out a picture of your daughter's illustration of her book cover. I can't tell you how eagerly we wait, for our books to reach your home, and for you in a week, to send back pictures from those books that your daughter has drawn. It's absolutely a pleasure. What a great, supporter of Funky Rainbow you are. And you can give your daughter a giant hug from all of us. She's incredibly talented, and it's just lovely that she makes these illustrations. I'm so happy that you share it with the authors, many of whom are on Facebook. Thank you so much, Chainika. Devi Datta ma'am, hello, how lovely to see you. I'm sorry I can't call you anything but Devi Datta ma'am, because I do know that you were Aaron's grade 1 teacher, and every time, we spoke to him, it had to be Devi Datta ma'am. So Even when he's 40 years, and if we meet you, we are going to call you Devi Datta ma'am. Thank you so much. It's lovely that the teachers from schools that we have worked with are here with us at every bazaar. Hi, Arundhati Nath. So sweet of you to join us. There is a surprise in here for you, so I'm going to just say, hang in there. We will definitely unveil the surprise quickly. Hi, Ranu Banerjee, very good friend of Muttama's. Thank you so much for being here. And she sends you a big, giant virtual hug. And Kwiti Marva, absolutely delightful to see you here. Thank you so much, and so many of you here this morning. I will move on to a couple of more picture book recommendations. Please do post your queries if you have some questions. We would love to go back to that format where we are, pulling out books and showing them to you as well. So if you have any questions, please do post them on the chat. I'm going to, of course, we have this lovely rainy kind of start to the bazaar, but I'm going to showcase two much needed picture books, and, picture books that we don't believe often in India, that children should be introduced to complex themes. But fortunately, many writers entering that brave new world, one of whom is watching the bazaar here with us this morning, Tanushree Singh, with Darkless, written by her and illustrated fabulously by Sandhya Prabhat. It is the story of little Ani. And the thing is, everything has turned dark in Ani's life. When the book begins, everything is absolutely dark in Ani's life. He has his family, he has his pets, there's Dobby, there's Nani, there's his friends. He has all of them, along with him. But for some reason, he just decides to pull away from them. Of course, there is this beautiful room, where the moon shines and the little specks of light from the moon dances every night when Ani stays awake. Why? What is it that has made Ani so despondent? You need to read this very thoughtfully written, very sensitively written book about the fact that everybody's lives have ups and downs, and you know what, dealing with the downs, that is as important as riding the ups. And I'm so glad that Penguin and author Tanushree Singh and illustrator Sandhya Prabhat have done this beautiful book on, with shades of depression. What happens, why, you are probably not at your cheerful best every single time in life. And it's great that we do these picture books, because these conversations have to be opened up with children. We see the world around us. We see how that people are struggling to cope with the challenges of the pandemic. And I'm sure children are the hardest hit in this whole process, because life as they knew it, going out, meeting friends, playing, it has changed completely. So, books that open difficult conversations are so welcome in the Indian children's publishing space. Darkless. And we have paired this with another beautiful book written by Sanjana Kapoor and illustrated by Sunaina Coelho, called Who Stole Bhaya's Smile? Bhaya simply in the book doesn't feel like doing anything on most of the days. And Chiru, his sibling, he believes, she believes that it is because of a new monster friend that is lurking in Bhaya's life. And as little children would do, she calls and I just love it. I just love the way Sunaina Coelho has illustrated Bhaya and Chiru, and this monster, Chiru calls the monster Duk Duk. And what is Duk Duk doing to her otherwise happy, cheery, smiley Bhaya? Again, a beautiful book on the theme of the lingering effects of depression. And as I told you, it is so relevant in these times because they are so challenging. And if they are for adults, please imagine how much harder it might be for younger children. It is such a great combination of books. I mean, and I know as parents and adults and teachers, we sometimes fight shy of introducing difficult themes into a child's life. I don't think so. Children are far, far smarter and far, far more perceptive than we give them credit, of being. And this lovely pair of books that deals with difficult times in people's lives, a must read, for younger readers. We would recommend them. I mean, these books are pretty much ageless, but, Tanushri's book could be read by children as young as 3 or 4 years, and perhaps Bhaya, a little older, Who Stole Bhaya's Smile, which is published by Pratham, and Darkless by Penguin, and Pickle Yolk, as a combine, would work for Bhaya's Smile, would work for children who are perhaps, older than 6 years old. However, I do believe adults can read them and open up these conversations, with their children. I'm going to move to another, set of books that absolutely, that we enjoy. Again, a set of themes that are quite, quite complicated, but life is complex, and we do need these books that reflect the complexity of life in all its shades, from happiness to difficult days, to trouble at school, to trouble with family, to the politics of different of the way a country is. And these two books, which certainly reflect the politics of our times, is a great favorite, I Will Save My Land, which won the Neve Book Award in 2018, written by activist writer Rinchin and illustrated by Sagar Kolvankar, is a great story of this young girl called Marty. We just love her name, Marty, and who wants a little piece of land to farm because she sees her father and grandmother farming every day. Now, when she's given that little piece of land, she, like a little corner in the corner of the land that they're already tilling and farming in, she takes the job very, very seriously. And, one day, suddenly, as is the case in very many agricultural and tribal areas of the country, a big mining corporation makes an entry and wants to take away, their land, the land that belongs to the people living there for their mining activities. But there's feisty Marty, there's her grandmother, and they have decided to ensure that they will not lose their land to the monster machines that are standing out there, ready to, sort of take it away, really. And so beautifully, author Rinchin brings out the complexities of the tribal areas in Chhattisgarh, and the ravaging ways of corporations when they want to take away for commercial profit. Again, a picture book that would work for 6+ years old, and we are utterly delighted that we do introduce these themes to the youngest of readers. Beautiful brown, illustrations that are truly earthy, and reflect this, the soil, the connection that people have to their land, especially people who grow our food. And, what happens when a corporation comes right in, what is the tension and what are the troubles that, lie in store. Very beautifully and sensitively done by Rinchin, and, the excellent illustrations by Sagar Kolvankar complementing it beautifully. We have paired it with this excellent book from Pratham called Chipko Takes Root, written and illustrated by Jayanti Manokaran. Why we have paired it with this book is that all of us know the story of the very, very powerful Chipko movement where people literally chipcoed themselves to trees so that, they could not story. There's Dichi, the protagonist of the story. Dichi is a brave Bhotia girl who takes part in the Chipko movement to save her beloved trees. Everybody in the village knows that trees are so important to life. And it's great that the power of collective action, as seen through the eyes of a young girl called Dichi, comes alive in this in this excellent picture book. Again, we would put this at for children older than the ages of 6. It's a heartwarming story, and I think there's nothing that connects better with kids than to see children like them in books making a difference to the world. Very inspirational, this collection of 2 books, I Will Save My Land and Chipko Takes Root, for the power of, absolutely the power of children in transforming our world. Sorry, what did you want?
Kripa says that in Chennai's EIA 2020, they were talking to children about Vedantangal and other projects. And this book, I Will Save My Land, was also
okay, Kripa, you say that, at the Chennai SCARP EIA 2020, that I Will Save My Land was introduced to the children and that they responded most favorably. It is, the world lies in the hands of our young people. And the more sensitive, the more, understanding they are, the chances are the world will become far better than what it is right now. And how do you introduce, how do we bring that to our children? Of course, there are values and we do our best as adults, but books play such an important role in the process. And I'm so glad that these books, are making their ways into various projects like this, like the ones that you mentioned, Kripa, to make a difference, to the lives of young people everywhere, especially the need to introduce them to diverse kinds of people. The importance of it is so relevant in these times. So a powerful combination pair of picture books, I Will Save My Land and Chipko Takes Root. I am, going to move to another lovely set of books, which we enjoy. Of course, because they've got cool titles. But this is a pair of picture books. Again, I can show them up to you. It's, one from Tulika and one from Pratham. Just love the names of both of them. Only Fools Go to School, written by the lovely writer Chatura Rao and, that luminescent, illustrator, the illustrator whose illustrations simply just light up a book so marvelously, Proiti Roy. And this one, School is Cool, written by Saumya Rajendran and pictures by Kanchan Mitra. The lovely thing about both these books, we've sort of paired them because in Chatura Rao's book, Samba, the protagonist of the book, simply doesn't want to go to school. He thinks school is really just for fools. And I mean, believe me, we all love to go to school to meet our friends and to, have a good time. But for studies, at that point in time, I'm sure hundreds of children will believe that school is absolutely only meant for fools. However, there's a new teacher in school, and one day she ensures that she takes him to school. Now, the thing is, Samba enjoys himself at school so much that day, and it's a story about whether he will come back to school the next day. It's the whole thing. The book is, of course, hinged on the fact that you learn so many exciting things in school. It takes one teacher to transform your life, to set you off on that quest for learning. And it doesn't matter whether it's academically or that one teacher who kindles that spark in your mind can make all the difference. The lovely thing about the book is it's set squarely in a government school. And really, as I said, the diversity, that we need in our writing comes from the fact that authors and illustrators are now really focusing on the different realities that exist in India. And we love this one specifically, and it's a fun, happy, jolly story. Teacher is really cool. This teacher, there's suddenly a snake, in one of the episodes in the thing, when the children are getting ready for lunch, there's a little snake that crawls up near the classroom, and she's able to identify it as a keelback. And once she's determined that it's not a dangerous snake, is even happy to let the children play with it, because it is not a dangerous snake. So all kinds of excitement like this worked into the book, and all about, set so beautifully in a government school. This one, has been paired with Only Fools Go to School, simply because Soumya Rajendran, I remember reading somewhere, saying that it was inspired by her father's experience of going to a government-aided school. So this is a school. So she sort of said that her school stories, her own stories are so different from her father's story. Her school stories markedly different from her father's school stories because of the kind of school that each one went to. This one, of course, typically, like Only Fools Go to School, is about a girl who would much, much rather not wake up in the morning and go to school, simply because she's in the middle of an exciting dream. There are tigers chasing her. There's a hill so huge. She hasn't managed to reach the top. The tiger is close, on her heels, and she has to wake up immediately because she's hearing her mother calling, out to her to get up. Now, the thing is, in the course of the story, as she's getting ready to school and still quiet, and we love this picture of her sitting on the potty, getting ready to go to school. The thing is, her imagination is vivid. There's the scene in which she's brushing her teeth, where she imagines all the germs as little colorful monsters. What is lovely is that, at one point, her grandmother starts to tell her about what it was like for her father to go to school, and brings in this beautiful little snippet of how, there are children who go to school because, they get an egg at lunch every day. So bringing in that concept of the midday meals, which was an Indian innovation and has been acknowledged worldwide as a path-breaking innovation to get children to school, to give them these midday meals. It's truly a great incentive, to get them to come to school. Very beautifully woven in, the theme of imagination, but at once also presenting the realities, an alternate reality of why some children actually, go to school. Two books set, beautifully, set in government schools, and telling the story of why school is really so cool. As I said, this one's published by Pratham and one is by Tulika, and it's a great combination. Do check out our picture book pairs segment to tell us, to take a look at the special prices in which these books are at the special prices in which these books are on offer. Hi, Deepta. Muttama tells me that there's a reading list coming to us very quickly. Oh, okay. Sorry, that there is the School is Cool is in your reading list, your school's reading list already. It is absolutely such a delightful story. And Only Fools Go to School come in fairly recently from Pratham, which means you can, read it on Storyweaver. great great books to introduce children in mainstream schools like yours to diverse schools and diverse realities in India. And of course, a shout out goes to people like you and Saint Kabir's Chandigarh for bringing or taking all these schools in. I mean, all these books into the classroom. Thank you so much, Deepta, for working with us, for picking these marvelous books and reaching them out to hundreds of children out there. So that was one picture book combination that was that we felt would work. Let me move to a couple of jolly combinations that we had lined up. In fact, we had thought of these even a little earlier, because July was the month of the first moon landing. Yuri Gagarin, Neil Armstrong, landed on the moon first time on 21 July, I think 21 or 22 July. And we felt space would be such a lovely theme to focus on. We do have, quite a few books on space, but the interesting reason why we choose to focus on it is that across these 7 years at Funky Rainbow, after people ask, after children themselves come and ask for adventures and ghost stories, space is so high on that list of what children seem to want to read about. It was a revelation to us, and I think it's because the whole idea of a world out there, the fantasy part of space perhaps appeals so much to kids. We repeatedly have requests for space-based stories and space-based adventures. So we did try to see if we could do an entire bazaar focusing on space. One day we hope there will be enough books from the Indian children's context to showcase, space as a theme. But for now, two lovely space stories, which, so fantasy-filled space stories, I think are just the best of the best of the best. Padma Goes to Space, published by Tulika, meant for children 5 plus years in age, written by Shweta Prakash and illustrated by Shreya Sen, is a beautiful book, about space, because this space, somewhere in the universe, in this book, there are, from a volcano erupts fruit juice, which freezes and becomes ice cream, and these delightful flights of fantasy into the galaxy. This delightful time-traveling story not just introduces children to the concept of space and the wonderful unknown world that lies out there. This, it also absolutely lets their imagination take flight. Shweta Prakash has done a great job, as has Shreya Sen, of recreating this fantasy-filled space world. Really, it's a cheerful pictures, cheerful story, and as you can see, come together to make this glorious picture book, that is all about Padma's journey to space, but it's also the story of her flight of fancy and imagination. We just love this book at Funky Rainbow. And Anushri Gupta, you say you want to see a space bazaar. Yes, we're really going to, in fact, both Muttama and Sham have been suggesting, across the last couple of weeks that perhaps, it's hard to get, say, 20 books on one theme, especially because we limit ourselves to the Indian children's context. But perhaps we should start doing spotlights, like to have spotlights in our bazaar that focus on one particular theme. So we can pick out maybe 8-10 books from our collection and showcase it in that spotlight. If that is an idea that has wings, please do write into us. We really do want this feedback from all of you out there who are listening, because it helps us plan newer and newer things for the bazaar in a manner in which we can showcase more and more books for all of you out there. So we are making a plan, and I think maybe a space spotlight should not be difficult to pull off. So yes, keeping and I mean, I do know many, many years ago, Sham, for the magazine that we were putting together, wrote an exciting piece on Yuri Gagarin's first journey, into space, the first man who went into space. He recreated it in the form of a diary. And it was so thrilling to even put that together. Then imagine how much fun it must be for people who read, because space, really, the world out there, I mean, it is, there's just such a wonderful element of surprise that comes into play when you bring up the issue of space. So this one we have paired with one of our favorite writers' books from Pratham called The Starlight Adventure, Parinita Shetty, and illustrated by Isha Mangalamurthy and Upamanyu Bhattacharya. It's Parinita, Shetty, when you interact and engage with her, that girl has fantasy in her head 24/7. So this excellent Starlight Adventure, the story of Naina and Madhav, two kids who couldn't agree what the moon is made of. Is the moon literally made of a ball of cheese? Well, what do? They decide to go off on an intergalactic adventure to find out. It is just fabulous how she's woven fact and fiction into the story. On their way up to the moon, there is a glowing unicorn in the first part of the story to give them directions. You instantly know it's a constellation. It's such a beautiful way to introduce children to the concept of space, the stars, the constellations, all the while all the while going on a great adventure. Not going to give away more of this fantastic book, but why we decided to pair them is they are two fantasy-filled space adventures, absolutely work fabulously well for 5+-year-olds. I think it should be on all your bookshelves and in all your libraries. I'm again going to reiterate that we only have limited stocks of these books, but please do not, get upset with us or, worry about it. We will, we have asked for all these books and they will be on our shelves very, very soon. So those of you who are able to process the order up on our website, www.funkyrainbow.com, please go right ahead. If any of you miss out, please WhatsApp us at 99004 95665 and let us know that you want these books. We've become meticulous in maintaining lists and will let you know as soon as they're back in stock and ensure that they reach you. We can't guarantee this only with some of the Pratham books because I'm not sure they're printing that many, but perhaps the Pratham books can be read and enjoyed on Storyweaver. I know nothing quite like the feel of the real book, but in the absence of physical copies, you could check the books out on Storyweaver. Again, another space combination. Anushri, I hope you're listening. And, we do have two in focus today. There are these two beautiful books. There's A Hole in My Galaxy, written by Ananya Dasgupta and illustrated by Chaya Prabhat. And this one from the Little Leaders series, written by Aarti Mutanna Singh and Mamta Naini, about Stephen Hawking. Now, the thing with both these books is that they focus on black holes. I mean, of course, this one is a lovely little biography, illustrated by Nizara Verulkar, which tells the story of Stephen Hawking as a young boy. I mean, what was it? He was quite a misfit in school. And how did he deal with the challenges of never being able to make very good friends or perhaps being the butt of ridicule, for the fact that he was a different guy, and the fact that at a very, very young age comes down with a terrible neurological disorder. But of course, and where his parents are told that he doesn't have more than 2 years to live as a very, very young boy. Imagine Stephen Hawking went on to become one of our greatest astrophysicists, doing fantastic research in examining the world out there, studying the world out there, understanding it, and specifically the concept of black holes. I know, Muttama has always mentioned to me that when Stephen Hawking visited India for the first time, maybe in the 90s, was that in the 90s, Muttama, that, the disability rights movement got a huge heads up, because of Hawking's visit and his desire to see many Indian monuments. Apparently, the first ramps for our monuments went up because of Stephen Hawking's visit. Muttama is literally doing a jig here. I would be very happy for her to come and do the jig in front of us. Good entertainment as part of this program, where many of you are chilling out over chai, and we do know other unmentionable liquids as well going in, and I know who knows what I'm talking about. But Muttama said, that was a great bit of trivia that she gave us. Not just trivia, a significant thing in our that happened to the country, that because Stephen Hawking was visiting, that ramps got put up on many monuments in Delhi. So this one, talking about black holes, and she wants me to shout out to Mr. Javed Abidi, the late Javed Abidi, and Ramachari. Javed Abidi, who did a lot of work, pioneering work in the space of disability rights, and Ramachari, who's even presently continues to work in that space. We do know Rama has been picking up a lot of books from Funky Rainbow, and a big shout out goes to them, for making a much needed difference to our world. So that was Stephen Hawking. And because he was responsible for a lot of information that we have on black holes, there is this adventure story of three friends who blast off from Earth in a rocket to explore the solar system. Although what happens, and just see these glorious illustrations. I can't help but wonder if Chaya Prabhat and Sandhya Prabhat are connected in some way. I just see that this beautiful color palette that Chaya Prabhat has used in this book, and Sandhya Prabhat, illustrations in other books, including one that we showcased first thing in the morning on Tanushri's book Darkless. The palettes are so bright and lovely, really. So I wonder if they're related. No idea. Somebody finds out, they can definitely let us know. So these three friends, decide to set off on a rocket to explore the solar system. There's Ava, there's Maya, and there is Rayan. Now what happens? Suddenly, in the midst of their intergalactic adventure, they find themselves being sucked into a black hole. Do they manage to escape? Find out in this charming space odyssey, which is a great way to introduce children to the concept of a world out there so different from ours. Anushri, you ask for an age. I would imagine that these books would definitely, it's not for the youngest of readers because they're a bit text heavy. You can see there is a little bit more text. I would say if you're reading it to a child, 4, 5 years perhaps, but if you want them to read it on their own, perhaps 6, 7 is what I would peg it at. But it's really hard to ascribe age groups, to books, and there are readers and readers, early readers, late readers. But I would typically say maybe 6+ if you want them to read it on their own, including the Stephen Hawking book, which is also sort of similarly, the text. There are a few lines of text on each page. A great set of space stories, and sure, we will take your suggestion and try and do a space spotlight when many of these books make their way into our collection. From the concept of space, I'm going to move to a subject that was such a bugbear for me in school personally, maybe for many of you out there as well. Math. Gosh, I can't tell you how much I struggled with it. And in retrospect, it feels that you just didn't give yourself the chance to discover the magic of numbers. If you could do it for words, why can't you do it for numbers, basically, right? And hence a theme very, very close to my heart. I truly want to send out many, many salams to math teachers out there, because including my own, who must, yeah, it's so hard to grapple with a child's diffidence for a subject already, right? I mean, bad enough there's the fact that you need to teach and finish a couple of things, but how do you turn that diffidence into imagination? And how do you turn that diffidence into willingness? Really, doffing our hats to the many, many math teachers out there who possibly grapple with it more than any other subject. I could be wrong about that, but in my head, because of my own math bugbear, I feel many math teachers have to deal with this issue. So 3 books in this pair, of course, like, 2 is company, 3 is a crowd, just the kind of crowd, though, that should be up on your bookshelves, crowding your bookshelves. There's this marvelous new book from Tunlika about Srinivasa Ramanujam, the friend of numbers, written by Priya Narayanan and illustrated by Satvik Gade. It's the great story of our doyen mathematician, from India, Srinivas Ramanujam. Now, the thing is, what the book excitingly traces, and, he was, Ramanujam lived, in a little South Indian home by the Kaveri. And the thing is, the boy, as such a young boy, the book traces how he was so interested in patterns, and just little patterns of the rangoli outside his house made him think of something. Little patterns in temple gopurams made him see a certain kind of symmetry. And it is these patterns that triggered off in the young boy an interest in numbers. He slowly managed to, he slowly managed to see that, symmetry also meant, a certain combination of numbers. Kavita, you say it's vitamin M deficiency. We need to, take good doses of vitamin M. Vitamin M for you by way of books. Abandon those vitamins, take those books. That's enough. And I really do wish that, growing up, there were these stories on maths that made me take more kindly to the subject. So, it's all, and how is it that a young boy, of maybe 7 or 8 could see these, could be the only one who saw these patterns? Beautifully traces his story, and how, as a young man, then he moves, he starts to match his mind with the best minds in Cambridge, and goes on to become one of the finest mathematicians in the world. Srinivasa Ramanujam, written by Priya Narayanan and illustrated by Satvik Gade from Tulika Publishers, priced at 225 rupees. Of course, I've completely forgotten to tell you the prices of the earlier books, but they are up on the Funky Rainbow website. So, they're all available at attractive offers. The combinations have been put together with discounts. So please do consider picking them up if these books interest you. The thing is also, when kids are that brilliant, sometimes they are ostracized. And, because it happens to the best of us, right? The brightest kid in class who's answering all the questions, the first thing you'll say is, oh my God, what a show off, really, right? And so they do become loners in some particular way. And the next book that's part of this combination from Pratham, How Pintu Found Pi. Now, Pintu is new in school, and whenever he approaches his classmates, he feels that they form a circle around him. What a beautiful way to introduce the concept of pi, the mathematical concept of Pi. So as you can see, this book written by Sarath Talluri Rao and illustrated by Aratrika Chowdhury is, about this loner boy who finds happiness in his library and in specifically in numbers. And the discovery of pi, 22 by 7, that is so beautifully explained in this, again, a chapter book, a picture book that would work for slightly young readers. How Pintu becomes friends with pi. Again, of course, there are patterns in nature. There are patterns that happen in and around, that are there in and around Pintu's life that gives him a good explanation of the concept of pi. So, How Pintu Found Pi, a great book, very similar to Ramanujam in some way, except that this Pintu is a fictional character, and how he finds comfort, because his friends won't let him into a circle, how he finds comfort in pi, the concept of pi. Very lovely story, priced at 55 rupees and published by Pratham. And we have another book, again about a pioneering lady who thinks in numbers. This is The Girl Who Thinks in Numbers, published by Pratham again. Data Warrior Prakalpa Shankar. Sorry, this one's written by Shreyasi Singh and illustrated by Rai. Now, this is the story of a real person. Prakalpa worked tirelessly to help her community solve their problems. How did she do this? By collecting data. We all know that the best of us who resist numbers and data, that data and numbers do give us answers to a lot of solutions, a lot of problems in life. And in this case, particularly, community problems, and Prakalpa, because she can see excellent patterns, in things that are happening around her, ends up becoming a data warrior, is able to crunch the numbers and is able to find solutions to very basic problems that are that are happening in her community. Very powerful book of social change, of bringing about real change where it matters, simply by the power of numbers. Shreyasi Singh Mutama tells me you are here watching the show. We are so delighted. We had no idea about, Prakalpa Shankar till we read the book. And see, this is how books change lives. We can recommend this book only because you have written it and it is available on Funky Rainbow's bookshelves. So a big shout out to you, Shreyasi Singh. Thank you for introducing us to The Girl Who Thinks in Numbers. So from Srinivas Ramanujam, a friend of numbers, to The Girl Who Thinks in Numbers, Prakalpa Shankar, and to How Pintu Finds Pi, 3 mathematical books that would work for 5-6+ year olds in this combination. And like I said, prior to introducing you to these books, they're all available at special prices on our website. Please do look at picture book pairs when you log into www.funkyrainbow.com. Please do look at the section that says picture book pairs. In the bargain section, all of these are available at special prices. Please do go ahead and try to process your orders from the website, because should you write to us on WhatsApp, we have to wait for the online orders to get processed and come to you. And sometimes books do run out by them. But like I said, please don't worry if they run out. We will certainly get them back on our shelves very, very soon. That's true. Archana, you have recommended the fascinating Fibonacci one series. Actually, there are a whole clutch of books on mathematics and numbers. Dum Dama Dum Biryani. There is the fascinating Fibonacci's, Soda and Bonda. They all, how far is far, talking of mathematical measurements. And there's even Penumbra on a Full Moon Night by Aparna Atreya. The thing is, we don't have the printed copies of many of these books, and with Pratham, I think they only print limited numbers. So we have put together our packs with books and trying to sort of link them thematically. In this set, Pintu was a lonely, person, and so was Srinivas Ramanujam. Prakalpa, they all saw patterns, they all were able to see patterns that other people didn't see, and hence, were able to harness the power of numbers. But thank you so much for that suggestion. Fascinating Fibonacci's is truly a wonderful book, on the Fibonacci sequence. So this mathematical set, Muttama tells me that somebody, Aruna Shankar, who runs, Number Nagar, has written a piece on Funky Rainbow's blog on the Fibonacci book and the importance of seeing patterns and how we can help children sort of see some joy in these patterns as well. So you could check it out on the Funky Rainbow blog. So I will then move on to a clutch of nature books, because it's a theme. Before I say hellos, I'll do a clutch of nature books, in our collection, which just so that we miss, I know a lot of us miss going on walks, sitting under a tree, going to the park in your city, and just being in the great outdoors. So, here are some nature books which we hope can help, bridge the gap till, everything becomes okay. But that said, I'm sure many of us are actually, going out and sitting in the midst of trees. This one, I'm going to recommend two lovely bird books. This one called Jungle Radio, Bird Songs of India, written and illustrated by Devangana Dash. Superb book, so beautifully illustrated on the different Indian birds that you can see outside your window and each of their calls. So she has so aptly called it the Jungle Radio, and all about the bird song that we can all identify. And I'm sure it's just right outside our houses or windows. You can just take a bit of, switch off all your devices, shut down the TV or the computer and listen to these excellent bird calls in and around you, gorgeously illustrated by Devangana. And this book, written and illustrated by Devangana, published by Penguin, and in the Sabha honor list as well. The South Asian Book Awards put this on their honor list this year. So this is about little Gul, who discovers beautiful birds and their and the bird songs and the sounds. And you can in fact see that in this picture book, the bird sounds are highlighted. They are in a larger typeface, basically, which really makes it easy for children to repeat, and so they can absolutely imitate these bird calls and bird songs very well. We have, of course, paired it with a little book that we love a lot at Funky Rainbow called The Birdie Post. This one's written by Bhavna Jain Bhuta and illustrated by Jaykar Marur. Now, this is English-Hindi. It's a bilingual book, and, we presently have it available in English and Hindi, which means the story is written. There are the English lines and there are also the Hindi lines. Great way to introduce another language to young readers as well. But what is so charming about this lovely little, feather tail, let's say, is that just the meaning of tweeting takes on tweeting, as we all know, of course, we know it as Twitter now, but the real tweeting is the birds tweeting, basically. How the concept of tweeting takes on a completely different meaning. One, the book introduces you to very many birds. It's about a bird called Chikki, who's too lazy to fly, and her preferred mode of transportation is on the back of a cow or a buffalo or a dog. how what a delightful premise to base the book on. And of course, there's one day when Chicky's mother wants her to send a message to Bitty auntie. What happens? Does Chicky truly fly? What message goes to Bitty auntie? The lovely thing is that it's the Birdie Post. The message does go to Bitty auntie, and there's an equally fascinating message that comes back from Bitty auntie. I'm not telling you anything more, but I believe me, this book will make you go at the end of it for sure. It's so sweet, it's so heartwarming, and it's introducing you to different kinds of birds in the Indian context as well. So two great books that can complement each other, and where one has a story, the other one too has a story, but the focus is more on showcasing birds and their sounds. I think the pair go together very, very well. So The Jungle Radio, published by Penguin, and Birdie Post by Tulika, again available at a special price at our picture book pair Buzzaar. So that was one nature book, one set of nature books. I'm going to recommend a second one, second set, which is also extremely popular. We love both these books at Funky Rainbow. The thing is, they're both set in jungles. So there is one, basic reason for pairing them, because they're both set in jungles. Now, that's probably the thematic connect, because this is the Jungle Storytelling Festival, written by Janaki Sabesh and illustrated by Debosmita Mazumdar, is the story of Ostru and how the jungle is getting ready for a storytelling festival. There are so many animals there, and they're all getting ready. They're arranging things for the event, because the storytelling festival is a big affair. Now, what we particularly, of course, there are these beautiful, pastel illustrations of different animals. Children, the youngest of readers, 3+, 4+, can easily be asked to identify these animals in the jungle. What we particularly love is that when the storytelling festival begins, each animal comes up and tells his or her or their story. The thing is, that story is wordless. So you see, within a book, you can so easily, get the child to narrate. And again, it's just the story or that the lion is telling in pictures. So several wordless stories within one wordy story. I mean, it's just great. The potential of using this book in schools, in libraries, and, parents and children, just immense. And this is a fantastic, it's an absolute delight, really, as somebody just said, Anushri, you're right, it's an absolute delight and can be used for so many kinds of activities with young readers. Now, this one, because it's set in a jungle, and we've combined it with this one, which is also set in a jungle, written and illustrated by one of our top favorite writers and illustrators, Ashok Rajagopalan. And I think we can confidently say that a whole generation of kids are growing up reading Ashok's Gajapati Kulapati. It's a cult classic in the Indian children's context. And, I know, 20 years later, everybody will be talking of Gajapati Kulapati as the book for the youngest of readers. Now, we do know, a little bird tells us in the context of the birdie context, that the next Gajapati Kulapati book is going to be out in the next 2 weeks. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will put out an announcement the minute it is out. Make sure you rush your orders to Funky Rainbow, because we know how quickly Gajapati Kulapati just flies off the shelf. My mouth is zipped. I can't say anything more about the book. We'll wait for the publishers to announce it and send the books out to us. Meanwhile, though, if you would like to read Ashok's book and you're already done with the Gajapati ones, there is this beautiful one from Pratham called The Tino, The Rear, and The Biger. Now, this is all about Tingu tiger who is not very happy with his furry orange skin. So what does he do? He exchanges it with Ranga rhino's nice and grey one. But when he wants it back, Ranga has already given it away to Bablu the bear. Such a lovely concept, about being comfortable in your own skin. I mean, the grass is always greener on the other side. Somebody else has always got a prettier dress. Somebody else is always, carrying a fancier bag. But you know what? There's nothing quite like being you. And that's the beautiful message of this book, of this glorious picture book set in a jungle. And as you can see, the names are jumbled up exactly in the same manner in which Sotino, it's the combination of a tiger and a rhino. You know what rear is, you know what biger is. What a beautiful way to, do this with your kids as an activity as well. Ask them to combine words and come up with, newer names, newer ideas. I think both these books, we link them because A, they're set in jungles, and two, lend themselves to all kinds of playful, exciting activities. I don't know whether I showed you a picture, from inside the book, Ashok's classic style, jolly sort of, laugh, something that makes you laugh the minute you see the pictures. These two books combine very well and can be used as great reading cum activity books. And my last nature set, I think I'm assuming, or possibly we have, sorry, we have one more nature set of books, which I'll probably, recommend to you just after I finish these ones. These three books we have picked as a pair simply because, they are set in India's glorious tiger reserves. Welcome to the Forest, written by Bhavna Menon and illustrated by Kavita Singh Kale, is set in the Kanha Tiger Reserve. And this one, Walking in the Wild by Sejal Mehta and illustrated by Barkha Lohia, is set in Mizoram. It takes a walk with with the forest officer called Zakuma, who's a brave forest officer, and it is indeed set in a tiger reserve in Mizoram called the Dampa Tiger Reserve. Very beautifully illustrated, taking you into the ins and outs of the reserve and into a day in the life of a forest officer, a brave forest officer and guard. Now, this one too, I didn't show you the pictures of into Kanha. It is about Tulsa and her school friends who go off to the Kanha reserve and along with the forest officials, really experience the jungle in a unique and very, very exciting way. This third book, and these are two picture books, we would recommend it for children 5+ in age. This one is probably a little higher. We would recommend it for children who are 6, 7+, is beautifully set in the Panna Tiger Reserve. It's called Our Tiger's Return. It's the story of the Panna Tiger Reserve, between 2009 and 2015, and how they did fantastic work in conserving the species of tiger. This one written by that wonderful environmentalist Piyush Seksaria. And, it's great that environmentalists who work, amongst adults to conserve a species indeed do want to tell children. It's a collaborative effort, and several people have come together to put together this book. But the fact that they indeed tell children what it takes to conserve a species, it's a lot of hard work, I'm sure. And to write a book that brings together photographs, actual photographs from the reserve, actual numbers of the tigers at the reserve, with a lot of facts. It's a great, resource for our young readers. This one we would recommend for slightly older kids, say 7+, but as a pair, the Panna Tiger Reserve, the Kanha Tiger Reserve, and this one is the Dampa Tiger Reserve in Mizoram. beautiful pair of books. And we do know that, if these species survive going forward, it is because our children have to have to work to conserve these marvelous, magnificent creatures that share the planet with us. One more nature pair, which is again paired together for very different, for the fact that they deal with fascinating animals, both of them. This one, Fascinating Friends in the Wild, written by Hema Badwar Mehra and illustrated by Karam Rai Mehra, is a book. It's published by WWF, and it is an A to Z of the strange creatures that we share our planet with. Now, Hema writes poetry, and there are quirky little verses on each of these animals, taking you from A to Z. So there's the aardvark in A, there's the blue-footed booby, very beautiful illustrations, very realistic illustrations actually, and the poems give you quirky facts, funny facts about these fascinating friends that we have in the wild. You could introduce children to all these creatures. You could ask them to write verses, and Hema's verses have a simple rhyme scheme, A B A B. That kind of rhyme scheme, it works very, very well. And I think children are really fascinated by unusual creatures, which this book certainly introduces you to: the Hercules beetle, the iguana, the Jesus Christ lizard. Just a fabulous A to Z of fascinating animals. Why we have paired it with this one, Can You, by Sheila Prout and Prabha Ram, and illustrated by lovely Ashok Rajgopalan, is because it takes everyday animals and it tells you what is fascinating about them. And how beautifully does it do that? For instance, the book just begins with, Can you taste with your toes? Okay, and it then goes on to say, if you are a butterfly, you really can. You can. That's why it's called Can You, because the sensors, the taste sensors that a butterfly has are on its feet. So they have picked, and this format is just delightful. Can you hear with your legs? I mean, which child will not be fascinated by this concept? And we can make them think up many such can yous for sure, and even just do them as little, just sit outside under a tree, observe 5 animals or birds, and think of things that they can do that you can't do, and help them understand. So when you say, can you hear with your legs, it says, if you are a cricket, you can, because they have tiny ears on their front legs just below their knees. Superb. I mean, the love for our natural world, these books do such a magnificent job of introducing this to young readers. We would say that these both would work for children above the ages of 6 to 8 years, perhaps even older. This can be used as a great reference. We do know WWF's books are not so easy to find, and these are absolutely available at wonderful prices on our website, available from today to the next Friday, isn't it, Muttama? They are available from today to next Friday, so do grab the opportunity of picking up a couple of them. Sorry, I'm going to say a quick round of hellos to many people. I can see many pairs still lying in my tub, and I just hope I don't have to whiz past them as I have been doing, but maybe we could put them up in spotlights later as well. But I will try and get a couple of more pairs in at least for sure. Hi, Harpreet Anand. Lovely to see you. Pia Kapoor. We're going to be on a panel discussion later this evening. Lovely that you've made time from Penguin to join us at the Buzzaar. Jomi George, Vijay Kant, Nandini Nair. Lovely to see you here. We were desperately trying to pair your roti book with some other roti book. And I do owe you a call, which I will make sometime quickly enough to, and of course, Muttama has promptly reminded me that I have promised you last week as well. Believe me, we're just scrambling from one thing to the next at Funky Rainbow, but being very, very busy. And I will be in touch with you very, very quickly to discuss some ideas. But thank you so much for joining us at the Bazaar. Hi, Navleen Kaur. Hi, Hurley Murtu Aliyu. Lovely to see you. First time at the Bazaar. I can see so many new names here this morning, and we are absolutely delighted that so many new people are stopping by at our Bazaar. Please do write to us. Please do ask questions. We are very, very happy to answer them for you. Malshri Lal, Malshri Kalotia, lovely to see you. And Diksha Rastogi, I know we are already in conversation for some books to go into your house. And they're probably going to be adding a lot more from this Bazaar. Diksha, thank you so much. Apparently, you sent us a compliment saying that the pairings were just wonderful. We are so happy that you think so. I mean, there's just so much that we can do with the world of Indian children's books, and we are delighted that you are appreciating this pairing. Janvi, fabulous to see you here this morning. Nothing like a good friend being at the Bazaar to, spur you on. I'm sure you are such a big book lover, and you do run a school for special needs children, and it's lovely the number of books that you are interested in taking into your school. Thank you for joining us at the Bazaar. Madhu, don't go away. There's a surprise for you at the Bazaar because your sister's book is going to get featured. So, it's just lovely that you've made your way into the Bazaar this morning. And, we thank you for the support that you've been giving us for introducing a wonderful book into our collection. Thank you, Madhu. Anita Venugopal, absolutely a pleasure to see you here this morning. Megha Gupta, absolutely delighted to see you. We're waiting for your environment book to come to us. I hope Penguin sends it to us very, very quickly so we can put it out in one of our bazaars very soon. I'm eagerly waiting to read it. Congratulations for a new book, for writing a new book. Hi, Paxkal Tokodi, lovely to see you. Hi, Apurva Ashok. Absolutely a pleasure to see you at the Bazaar again. And Revati Karmakar, dear friend and lovely storyteller. Preeti Ramchandran, I would have been disappointed if you didn't come in. You have become such a good friend of Funky Rainbows. Nalini Sorensen, a big hug goes out to you. We started our Bazaar with the rains, and I was really thinking of you in the Mumbai rains when I put together these lovely monsoon books. Thank you so much for being at our Bazaar. Priya Krishnamurti, we love the Srinivas Ramanujam book. Is that Priya Krishnamurti? No, your friend. Okay. Priya from Singapore, thank you so much for joining us at the Bazaar. I do know several books from this collection are going to interest you for sure. And Shivangi Sharma, a pleasure to see friends whom we have got to know across these couple of months. We've been locked down, but we're definitely not out. We are here, we are pitching books, and you're all out there supporting us in everything we do. A quick bunch of recommendations of a couple of pairs more. Arundhati Nath, I hope you're here this morning. I know you were there earlier, but here's why, I think you should be grinning and you should be at our Bazaar. This one is a lovely pair of kit books. Now, this one written by Arundhati Nath called Ready, Yes, Play, written by Arundhati Nath and illustrated by Priyankar Gupta, is the story of little Anu who loves cricket and her dream is to play the game. Now she bowls everyone over right in her first match. But what is and who is Anu's role model? That is no one other than the Indian women's cricket team captain, Mithali Raj. This is a great story of, breaking gender stereotypes, where we usually make the assumption that only boys play cricket. How does Anu and how does Anu's father help Anu play the game and build her love for cricket. And yes, of course, as she is inspired by Mithali Raj, the captain of the women's cricket team, we have paired it with a little, a book from the Little Leaders series called Born to Bat, a story inspired by the life of Mithali Raj. It is lovely. We really have so few books in our collection that focus on girls playing sport. And the thing is, it's great that we do choose to portray these, because girls love sport as much as anybody else does, really. So this one, again, like the Stephen Hawking book, is the story of young Mithali Raj and what inspires her to take on, to play cricket, and how does she go on to becoming the determination, the courage, and the hard work that went into her becoming a successful cricket player today. So we decided we would pair these two books together, simply because in this book, little Anu's hero is, heroine is Mithali Raj, and here's the story of Mithali Raj herself. A great combination for, cricket loving kids, and also for kids who love sport. And thank you so much for writing that book, Arundhati. I saw you said thank you so much. As I said, we have so few books where girls take to sport, and we love the fact that Ready Yes in our collection. This one's published by Pratham, which means you can read it definitely on Storyweaver, and this one by Red Panda, which is part of the Little Leaders series. From there on to let's say challenging themes, and three rather challenging themes, which again I'm very happy to say that in the Indian context there are more and more of these difficult themes coming up for children that are younger and younger. So the first one that I'm going to pick on, like we did earlier, dealing with the theme of depression, I'm going to deal with this pair of picture books, which I particularly love and enjoy. Pickle Yolk Books, Richa Jha's The Unboy Boy, written by Richa Jha and illustrated by Gautam Benegal. It is the story of a young boy called Gagan. His family and friends think of him as an unboy-like boy. And what do they want to do? As many family and friends do, they want to make him more boy-like. It is such a lovely story. There is, of course, there are, as the as the book points out, there is a vampire, there are ghouls, there are monsters, there are witches, but it is not a ghost story. It is the story of a young boy called Gagan, no more, no less, a very unboy like boy. And really, there are, so many children around us who don't really fit into these stereotypes that we have created, and our world will only become a better place if we start accepting more and more and more people in. We start we stop classifying people into divisive categories. Beautiful book. How does Gagan resist his family's attempts to make him more boy-like? Does he resist it? Is he able to resist it? Published by Pickle Yolk, priced at 250 rupees, which we've paired with another iconic book, of our times, which has just come out fairly recently, Guthli Has Wings, written and illustrated by Kanak Shashi, priced at 165 rupees and published by Tulika. It is simply delightful, the kind of, beautiful style of illustrations that Kanak herself has used. I think, she's used paper, seeds, twigs, just different things from in and around her to make these collage-like illustrations about a boy called Guthli who wants to wear his sister's frock for Diwali. I think the festival is Diwali. Yes, that's right. He wants to, his sister's excited that she's getting new clothes. He's excited that he's getting new clothes. But what he wants to do is to actually wear his sister's frock. Does that happen? Do we allow it to happen? Are we quick to make judgments about these things? And should we at all be this judgmental? It's a beautiful story of how, irrespective of who you are, in some instances, if you're lucky, family can make all the difference. And very neatly inverts some fantastic, gender types, because in the course of the conversations that Gutli has with his family members, somebody says, boys are not fairies, they can only be princes, and you are my most handsome, sweet prince in the, in the world, the mother says. And Gutli responds saying, no, I'm a fairy and I want to wear this dress. Lovely stories. We are so glad that there is space in our publishing context to embrace and accept diversity of all kinds. Great pairing. And really, for all of you people out there who are watching, please, let's not fight shy of introducing these themes to our children, because this is the world that they're growing up in, and they are so much more accepting and understanding of different kinds of people, just diverse experiences. And it's our job as adults to make them even more so, to become even more that way, by way of introducing wonderful books to them.
So, is telling you that she's had children from 6 to 14 years read the book. And even in government schools and NGOs.
Oh, which one? Gutli or Unboy Boy? Oh, that's great, Archana. You say that you've had children between the ages of 6 and 14 in a diverse range of schools, mainstream schools, urban schools, government schools, rural schools, reading Unboy Boy and enjoying it. Really, the time has come to, our boys, this concept of masculinity that we, perpetrate, that we sort of, instill in their heads from the word go. We really should avoid these pitfalls and mistakes. Are there any books on trans people for children written by Indian authors? We do have books in the older context that, have gay characters, in them. But trans, I'm still not sure. In fact, I feel some of these books, trans, I wonder if we have a trans character in any of our picture books. It's a great question. I'm going to research it. And if we do come up with an answer, we'll certainly sort of let you know. It doesn't come to mind immediately of a trans character. However, these kinds of books, besides, breaking these stereotypes of masculinity, can also be a great opportunity to open conversations to people of different kinds of orientations. And really, why should that not be in our world? It absolutely should. Gender is a fluid continuum, and people can fit in anywhere in this continuum, wherever they are most comfortable being. So I believe that some of these books can open out the conversation. And if we do have a trans character, I will certainly, who asked that question? Archana, guaranteed, some research will go into it. And if any of you have an answer, please do tell us about it. We'll be happy to get that book at Funky Rainbow and introduce it to to the parent community and the school community that works with us. I'm going to move to another, clutch of books that again deal with, the difficult theme. And, actually, I feel there should be a point when we shouldn't have to say that they are difficult themes anymore. They are themes just like other themes. If we are looking at birds and we're doing themes on space, well, this is about children with autism. Two books that focus on children with autism, Vibhuti Cat by Shikandin and illustrated by Shubham Lakhera, which is the story of a little boy called Magesh, who is so different from other children. He's no good with words. He easily gets misunderstood. He has these terribly jerky movements. But there are two things that Magesh loves most of all. He loves playing with his brother Vignesh, and he loves his imaginary Vibhuti cat. Using this imaginary cat as a sort of image, as a symbol in the book, Shikandin has written this great story of the love and affection between two siblings, one of who has autism, but how it makes no difference whatsoever to any kind of bonding or friendship. Of course, the outside world sometimes is cruel, but to a family, it doesn't matter whether a child is special any and every which way. Very nice, very nicely done book about a different child. I think it was part of Parag Trust's Children's First initiative. They actually supported a project where more books could be written with characters, who straddled the disability spectrum. And this is one of the books that came out of that initiative, published by Duckbill and priced at 299 rupees. We have paired this with Mini Srinivasan's, again illustrated by Shubham Lakhera, two books, both, on the theme of autism, both illustrated by Shubham Lakhera. This is about a little girl, called Manna, who is again on the autism spectrum. Actually, she's a Down syndrome child in this book. And it's a lovely story about the little girl who is trying to understand why people treat her so differently. She goes to school and very many different things happen to her. She's teased, she's pushed. People laugh at her when she stutters, over her words. And, this book takes us into the mind of Mana. And, how does she rationalize, the way the world is treating her? And we are obviously wrong in doing what we do, but this is a very sensitively written book. Mini Srinivasan writes she has many books in which she's picked up challenging themes and written on them so sensitively. This is certainly one of those stories. And it has come from her experience of working extensively with children who have Down's syndrome. A great pair of books to introduce the concept of the fact that children are children, never mind what their disabilities are. All of us have them, some disability or the other. Somebody has stage fright, somebody is physically challenged, somebody has a visual impairment, somebody is on the autism spectrum. Why should it make a difference? Each one is special in every way. A great combination of books, again, to introduce your children to the fact that we live in a diverse world. Vibhuti Cat and I Didn't Understand, published by Duckbill and Tulika, respectively. One more theme, which is close to our hearts, this excellent theme of adoption, and we have two picture books on the theme today. One is A Simple Wish, written by Pia Ghosh and illustrated by Jeet Chaudhary. The other one, In My Heart, by Nandana Devsen and illustrated by Ruchi Masane. The thing is, some books like A Simple Wish are truly special to us because Pia simply just wrote to us one day, and I think she was pointed in our direction by that lovely writer Jane D'Souza, and she wrote into us saying that she has written this book and published it herself. It's a story of how her own family was created out of love, a little magic, and a simple wish. It's a beautiful picture book on adoption, and as you can see, large pictures, very little text, and it tells the story of a family and their adoptive journey, and how love and joy, and happiness, simply, they run far thicker than blood actually does. So this one, Pia had written to us, and with her sister Madhu, who I hope is watching, this bazaar. I know she was here a little earlier to say that whether Funky Rainbow would make this book available. I really, we read the book amongst us, and we simply loved the story. And I think we may have been perhaps one of the first bookstores in the country to stock this book. It is not easy to self-publish, even harder to distribute. So a real shout out goes to you, Pia, for actually undertaking the journey and giving us this beautiful book on our bookshelves. The lovely thing is that via Simple Wish, we have been introduced to, I think, like a couple of years ago, to an organization that works entirely in the space of adoption, helping families adopt, called Padme. And it was our absolute delight and pleasure to curate a collection of books, for an event and a seminar that they put together, a talk that they put together for adoptive families. We did have a clutch of Indian books. We also curated many international books, based on that theme, and, included books on acceptance, on tolerance, and, on diversity, and, on understanding that different people make the world beautiful. Different kinds of people make the world a beautiful place. So A Simple Wish is special to us because, perhaps we may have been one of the first places to, focus on the book. Muttama reminds me that Families of the Heart, Families of the Heart Babies is also an organization that we worked with subsequently, especially when we were introducing Nandana's book, In My Heart. They put together a lovely session for us with many adoptive families. And Nandana Devsen, who has written this book from her own experience of being an adoptive mother, tells the lovely story of a child who has understood that somebody, that this is her mummy, but she also has a tummy mummy, and wants to go in quest of her roots. How does the adoptive family deal with it? How do they create this nurturing, beautiful world for their daughter? It's an excellent book, and both these go together to make a superb set of books on adoption. Muttama has reminded me about Whose Lovely, Archana Atri, I know you said Whose Lovely Child, Can You Be, which is written by Shobha Vishwanath of Karadi Tales herself, also an adoptive mother. We've had the wonderful privilege of knowing her daughter right from the time that she was a young girl. Today she's, I think working in the space of theater. It's beautiful to see that adoptive family's journey, even in real life. We don't have too many copies of Whose Lovely Child, Can You Be? But yes, it's a beautiful book around the theme of adoption. So these two, A Simple Wish and In My Heart, this one self-published and this one published by Penguin, a great pair of books around the theme of adoption. I'll focus on just 2-3 more pairs perhaps of books before we wind up. As always, we've run out of time, more books and less time, but there's always bazaar, so we'll certainly find a way of bringing them into these bazaars. One, again, a lovely, pair of books that we discovered in our collection. This one, of course, called First to the Top. One of those, it's written by a foreign writer, David Hill, and illustrated by Phoebe Morris. Now, this one is a great story of Sir Edmund Hillary's journey up the Everest, along with Tenzing Norgay. It tells the beautiful story and the challenging story of climbing up the world's highest mountain for the first time. Now, how did Ed, who was a small, shy boy from New Zealand, grow to become the world's most famous mountaineer and adventurer? Beautiful picture book, little bit, I mean, meant again for older kids, let's say 6 plus years old, taking you a little bit into Edmund Hillary's life and also on that great journey up the mountain. This one, published by Penguin, is priced at 250 rupees, and it's a story really of the courage, skill, determination, and the dreams, what it takes to follow those, for sure. Now, this is a story that many of us know. We all know, Edmund, that with Tenzing Norgay, Edmund Hillary scaled up the Everest. This one, though, called Time and the Faraway Mountain, written by Shikha Tripathi and illustrated by Ogin Nayam, is a superb story of Tyne. I think it's pronounced Tyne or Tiny, I don't know, Tine, Tiny Mena, who at the age of 25 became the first woman from the Northeast to climb Mount Everest. Really, again, such a beautiful story of a little girl from a little faraway village in Arunachal Pradesh who follows her calling to become the first person from the northeast of India to scale the mighty Everest. I mean, this is the pleasure of books, really. You discover stories that you know of over and over again, and somewhere you also find these brand new wonderful stories. So Tiny or Tyne and the Faraway Mountain, published by Pratham, and First to the Top, published by Penguin India. I mean, by Penguin, two great mountaineering stories set on that magnificent mountain in our midst, the Everest. That is a great pair of books, and I think it does work for children 6+ years old. Right from the top of the mountain to under your bed is our next set of recommendations, and I know there's going to be many of you who probably have children who experience the fears of night monsters in the night. We have adults in our midst who are scared of monsters, and I can vouch for the many trips that I have made with Muttama Devaya where we've had to leave the light on in the room simply because she was scared of monsters. I think the next time I'll carry these books. Three great books. There's A Monster Under My Bed and Other Terrible Terrors. We have very limited copies of these two books that I'm recommending because they are hardback books. This is written by Maneka Gandhi, huge champion for animals' rights and, a politician. She has this excellent book about, terrors that lurk under the bed and how children tend to feel that these creepy creatures and monsters are always ready to get the better of them. It's a beautiful story. It's beautifully illustrated as well, and it's a must. I mean, the best way to dispel this fear of monsters, to take that away from a child's mind is probably to give them a book to read where there's a character of their own age who is afraid of the dark or afraid of monsters and then ends up overcoming that fear. These are hardback books, so a little bit pricey. This one priced at $3.99, and the next one in this series, in our Darkness and Monsters series, is this lovely one from Karadi Tales called The Night Monster, written by Sushri Mishra and illustrated by Sanket Petkar. Is again a beautiful story of a boy who's scared of the dark and what his sister does to help him get over these fears. So beautiful. She actually, encourages him to draw and even slowly, to write letters to this monster that goes bump under the bed in the night. The book is marvelously tactile in one part of it, where the letters, you see, I can lift these flaps and you can read these two, these wonderful letters that Avi, the protagonist of the book, writes to the monsters. And what happens happily at the end of the book, of course, is that the fear of monsters is overcome thanks to the support and love of a wonderful sister. It's a great book. Please do consider putting it into your collection. Again, another hardback book, so quite expensive, but I think, Mutama has them out at an incredible price of very limited copies of these books specifically, especially because they are hardback. We have clubbed it with one more book that we love from Pratham's catalog called The Big Book of Chandis. Your Tamil is my mother tongue, so I just had to read the word Chandis and I was absolutely in all kinds of giggles myself. A Chandi is basically a monster in the Tamil context, like, boogie men basically, who can give you a bit of a fright. Now, and I do think, the Buchandis in this book are adorable because it's written in rhyme. The book is written in rhyme about how there are Buchandis here, there, everywhere, and in your hair, so very nicely illustrated as well, introducing you to Buchandis that are quite nice, actually. The Buchandis in this, for instance, there is a set of Buchandis who has very long teeth, but there's also Buchandis who love to eat a lot of sweets. So in a sense, trying to take away the fear of monsters, big and small, and of all shapes and sizes, away from your child's mind. So this set, The Night Monster, There's a Monster Under My Bed, and Other Terrible Terrors, and The Big Book of Buchandis, a great set of books to combat the fear of the dark and the night. I will, of course, do we have some hellos or are there lots? Like, okay, so I have to bring in these excellent big books, which are the last ones that I'm going to focus on in this bazaar. I will do the two Hindi ones first. Just remarkable. Big books are simply the first step in early literacy. I mean, when you want children to read, to become familiar with the concept of books, these books, big books, play such a big role in making them attracted to the world of books. And I'm delighted that we have two in Hindi, one called Soja Ullu, written and illustrated by Bhuri Bai. As you can see, there are just these large illustrations. They are enough to captivate any child. These books are a must in school libraries. They are, I think, a must even in homes, because these big books really help children understand that words and pictures come together to make a beautiful reading experience. Now, Soja Ullu, of course, we have themed these two books simply because they are big books. They don't link thematically in that manner. Of course, they both illustrated in folk illustration styles. Soja Ullu, about an owl which is up all night, as owls normally are, and then tries to sleep by day, but simply cannot get a wink of sleep because of the amount of things and noise that is going on in their going on around him. Beautiful books. Even if you don't know Hindi, I would absolutely suggest that these pictures tell a story so marvelously that it's worth having these two books published by Ekalavya in association with Parag. This is priced at 240 rupees, and the next one called Khichdi, which is again, a lovely, popular, folk tale, priced at 150 rupees, both gloriously. This one is by Durga Bai Vyam. I'm sure many of you are familiar with her magnificent folk art work because of how many gorgeous books she's illustrated for Tara. This a lovely big book tells you the story of the lovely, everyday, delicious, yummy khichdi that we all eat. As I say, these books are in Hindi. but it simply doesn't matter. The pictures, if you can't read Hindi, but if you do want to introduce your child to another language and to Hindi, these are great books to have on your bookshelf. Khichdi Ek Lok Katha and Soja Ullu, this one by Bhuri Bai and this one by Durga Bai Vyam. So the connection pairing here is because they are big books and also because they are illustrated folk style. And of course, the last one, in my recommendation, and I can see that there are many that I seem to have left out, but it's okay. Another time, we won't keep you from the khichdi that you might have be making for lunch. These two lovely books. This one, again, a beautiful big book for the youngest of readers in English called Three Kittens, written and illustrated by V. Suteyev. It's so lovely. It's the story of three kittens, three little naughty kitties, okay? And they are running behind a mouse, and wherever they go, they, for instance, fall into a tin of flour, just good old atta. Then what happens to these kittens? The kittens who are gray, black, and white, see what happens to them. They're all three white kittens now. I'm not going to give away more of the book. Just look at how large the text is. Look at how glorious these illustrations are. A super big book to introduce reading to young children by way of very little text and very large illustrations. This one is priced at 250 rupees, and again, published by Ekalavya. We have paired it with a lovely book from Tulika that we enjoy called Mao and the Mustaches, written by Arunima Chatterjee and illustrated by Prabha Malya. Simply just look at how delightful this first set of illustrations is. Mao is just adorable. And I think many, many of your children will absolutely love to draw Mao. As you can see, both Mao and the girl looking so identical. Well, it's Mao who, the story is about Mao and, and the mustaches. Now, what happens to Mao, basically, he wants to see who else has mustaches, okay? And there's Murli Mama's mustaches. There are soft whiskers. There are hairy woes of all kinds in the book. It's a lovely little coming of age story of this little kitty called Mao. And Prabha Malya's lively illustrations absolutely are a real delight to behold. So here is the story of three kittens and Mao and the mustaches. This one by Tulika. This would work for absolutely 1-year-olds, if you please, and going forward, when kids can read a little bit on their own as well, you can use it. This one we would typically recommend for 4+ if they have to read on their own, but can be narrated even to very, very young kids. And I think they will all enjoy the fuzzy, reedy, bushy mustaches that Mao encounters in the story, and that the reader as well encounters in the story. So that's pretty much our set of books. I'm going to just quickly say hello to many people who are here. Won't keep you from your lunch, and won't keep you. I'm sure the chai and samosas are done now. Prasanna, sorry. Hi, Prasanna Sante Kadur, thank you so much. Shampa Das, Archana Chandel, Pavitra Kaudle, lovely to see a teacher from Samhita here this morning. Divya Purandar, of course, lovely to see you. Ami Shankar, delightful that you're here all the way from New Zealand. Raju Mishra, Sohini Mitra, lovely that, Penguin's publisher is here, children's publisher is here with us. Harpreet Kaur, Debasmita Das Gupta, a pleasure that you've joined us all the way from Singapore. It's such we're delighted to see this big, big community of writers and illustrators here at our bazaar this morning. And Niyati Sharma, Thank you so much. We're waiting for your book to come back on our shelves, Niyati, and you can be sure that a Runaway Peacock, Tomato Thief, and Tomato Flood will feature in our next couple of bazaars, which will happen across the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much for joining us here this Sunday, and I'm truly sorry that our bazaars slip into 20, 30 minutes more every single time. I really hope we don't keep you we're not keeping you away from your lunches. But the whole picture book bazaar, when I started off with the concept of this wonderful Chinese letter Chinese letter of the alphabet, which means double happiness delivered at your doorstep, that is exactly what we have aimed to do with our picture book bazaars. Deliver double happiness at your doorsteps. Thank you so much for being here, and please do look at all the offers and bargains that are up at Funky Rainbow. Please do connect with us for Indian children's books. We do want to reach them here, there, everywhere, to book lovers like you, from different parts of the country. Absolutely a pleasure, and bye-bye.